Have you ever jolted awake in the middle of the night, heart pounding, head spinning, unsure what just happened? It might seem like just a bad dream or a moment of anxiety, but the cause could be something far less obvious and much more serious. Believe it or not, it could be linked to something you snacked on just a few hours before bedtime. As we age, many of us turn to what we think are healthier snack options, like a small bowl of mixed nuts. They're crunchy, satisfying, and often recommended for heart health. But here's the part most people don't realize. Eating certain nuts at night could quietly interfere with your blood pressure, circulation, and even your brain function while you sleep. Sounds surprising, doesn't it? After all, nuts have long been praised for supporting heart and cholesterol health. And yes, when eaten in moderation and at the right time, they absolutely can be beneficial. But late-night snacking, especially for those over 60, is a different story entirely. In this video, we're diving into an overlooked topic: how certain nuts, when consumed in the evening, can silently strain your blood vessels, elevate blood pressure, and increase the risk of serious health issues like stroke while you sleep. So, if you're someone who likes to keep a bowl of nuts nearby during your evening routine, or grabs a handful before heading to bed, stick around until the end. It could make a big difference to your health. Before we begin, let me ask, do you eat nuts before bed? Type 1 in the comments if you do, and 0 if you don't. And don't forget to subscribe to Elderly Health Tips so you don't miss any important updates. Let's start with a nut you probably didn't expect to cause trouble: pecans. They're rich, buttery, and often show up in our favorite desserts. They seem like a cozy treat, right? But if you regularly eat pecans at night, you might be slowly contributing to some serious health risks. Here's the issue. Pecans are high in saturated fats and calories. Just a small handful contains over 200 calories and a significant amount of less than ideal fats. During the day, your body can burn through these fats more efficiently. But at night, your metabolism slows, your circulation drops, and those fats stick around in your bloodstream longer than they should. This creates thicker, slower-moving blood, which can be dangerous. A study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition revealed that consuming snacks high in saturated fat late in the day increases blood viscosity, essentially making your blood thicker, especially in older adults. And when you're lying still for hours at night, that slow, thickened blood becomes a perfect environment for clots to form. It's easy to dismiss a few pecans on yogurt or straight from the bag as harmless, but over time, it adds up. What can you do instead? Enjoy your pecans in the morning. Add them to oatmeal or a smoothie when your body is active and better equipped to handle fats. This way, you still get their flavor and nutrients, without the risks that come with eating them before bed. Now, let's talk about a much smaller nut that might be causing bigger problems: pine nuts. These tiny, gourmet-tasting nuts are often sprinkled on salads or blended into pesto. They're delicious, no doubt, but they carry a hidden risk, especially for your blood vessels. The main concern? Their high content of omega-6 fatty acids. While omega-6 is an essential nutrient our bodies need, it needs to be balanced with omega-3s, found in foods like wild-caught fish and flax seeds. Unfortunately, most diets today contain far too much omega-6 and not nearly enough omega-3. Why does this matter? An imbalance promotes inflammation in your blood vessels. Not just temporary inflammation, but chronic inflammation that weakens artery walls over time. According to the Journal of Lipid Research, diets heavy in omega-3s are linked to increased markers of vascular inflammation, especially in older adults, whose arteries are already more vulnerable. Think of your arteries like rubber hoses. When they're flexible, everything flows smoothly. But chronic inflammation makes them stiff and brittle. Add a sudden rise in blood pressure due to stress or dehydration, and the result could be catastrophic. If you enjoy pine nuts, the solution is simple. Eat them earlier in the day and in moderation. And try to balance them with foods rich in omega-3s to support a healthier fat ratio in your diet. Up next, we'll be looking at a nut most often associated with sweet, comforting treats, but its effect on your circulatory system might just surprise you. Let's take a closer look at hazelnuts. When you think of hazelnuts, you probably picture chocolate spreads or festive desserts. But many health-conscious people also enjoy plain roasted hazelnuts, believing they're a heart-smart snack. And to be fair, they can be, if eaten in moderation and earlier in the day. The issue arises when hazelnuts become a nighttime habit, especially for individuals with sensitive blood vessels or fluctuating blood pressure. The main concern lies in hazelnuts' high content of arginine, an amino acid that boosts nitric oxide production in the body. Nitric oxide helps dilate and relax blood vessels, which improves circulation. That sounds beneficial, right? And under the right conditions, it is. But here's where it gets tricky, especially for older adults. If your cardiovascular system is already compromised due to age or conditions like hypertension, this sudden widening of blood vessels at night can actually create instability in your blood pressure. This can cause erratic blood pressure changes, either sharp drops or unexpected spikes, and in more serious cases, even rupture small, delicate blood vessels in places like the brain or the eyes. A clinical review in hypertension research highlighted how older adults with fragile vascular systems are more likely to experience microvascular complications when exposed to high levels of vasodilators like arginine during rest. So what's the solution? If you enjoy hazelnuts, try eating them earlier in the day when your cardiovascular system is more active and resilient. And if you have a history of high blood pressure or vascular issues, it's worth checking in with your doctor before making nuts a regular part of your evening snack routine. Now, let's talk about a snack mix that's often seen as healthy and convenient, but maybe putting unnecessary stress on your heart and brain at night. Trail mix. At first glance, trail mix looks like a smart bedtime snack. Nuts for protein, dried fruits for natural sweetness. But most store-bought versions are far from innocent. They often contain excess sodium, added sugars, and preservatives, a combination that can silently strain your heart while you sleep. Let's start with the salt. Sodium promotes fluid retention, which increases blood volume and forces your heart to work harder, particularly problematic during nighttime when your body should be resting. Next comes the sugar, especially from sweetened dried fruits. Sugar fuels inflammation in the blood vessels, weakening the arterial walls and making them more vulnerable to damage. Together, high sodium and sugar create the perfect storm, raising blood pressure and causing vascular inflammation, which increases the risk of clot formation. A study published in Circulation found that high sodium and sugar intake leads to increased vascular stiffness and clot risk, particularly concerning for older adults. And during sleep, when your blood flow naturally slows, the likelihood of clot formation rises significantly. Think of your blood vessels at night like a quiet highway. It's supposed to be smooth with minimal traffic. But when you load your system with sodium and sugar, that highway becomes clogged and sticky, making it easier for platelets to clump and form clots, which can lead to stroke or heart attack. Here's the reality. Many commercial trail mixes pack 150-plus mg of sodium and 12-plus grams of sugar per serving, and most people eat way more than a single serving in one sitting. The better choice. Make your own trail mix at home using unsalted nuts, unsweetened dried fruits, and skip any candy or sugary add-ins. Even better, enjoy it earlier in the day when your body is better equipped to handle the extra load. Next on the list, a nut that might already be sitting in your kitchen, crunchy, savory, and surprisingly risky after dark. Salted roasted almonds. They're a go-to snack for many, especially in the evening while watching TV. But while they seem like a healthy choice, salted almonds can quietly raise your blood pressure at night, increasing your stroke risk. The problem here is again sodium. A single ounce of salted almonds can contain up to 150 to 200 milligrams of sodium. That might not sound like a lot, but when you're casually snacking, it's easy to go way overboard, especially for adults over 60 who are managing blood pressure issues. Here's how it works. Sodium causes your body to retain water, which increases blood volume and puts more pressure on artery walls. Instead of relaxing during sleep, your cardiovascular system stays on high alert. This increases the workload on your heart and puts added strain on your arteries. A study in the Journal of Clinical Hypertension confirmed that even moderate sodium intake before bed can significantly elevate nighttime blood pressure in older adults. And sustained nighttime hypertension isn't just a number. It raises the risk of silent strokes and early morning cardiovascular events. Think of your arteries like garden hoses. At night, the flow should be gentle and relaxed. But when sodium cranks up the pressure while you're resting, it's like turning up the water pressure in a coil hose. Over time, that stress can cause a rupture. What's the smarter option? Choose unsalted or lightly salted almonds and eat them earlier in the day when your body can handle them more efficiently. Your heart and your brain will thank you. Finally, let's look at a nut that's light, fun to crack, and often seen as guilt-free: pistachios. But there's more to them than meets the eye, especially if you're over 60. Pistachios are often praised as heart healthy, and they are in moderation and at the right time. But like hazelnuts, they're also rich in arginine, which increases nitric oxide and relaxes blood vessels. The problem? For older adults with sensitive cardiovascular systems, that vasodilation effect can become risky if it happens during the night. When your blood vessels dilate too much or too quickly, it can lead to drops in blood pressure or cause fragile capillaries to rupture, especially in the brain or eyes. That's why late-night snacking on pistachios, though it seems harmless, might be quietly undermining your vascular health. The safer approach? Enjoy pistachios earlier in the day and avoid making them a part of your nighttime routine, especially if you have known heart or blood pressure concerns. Why some healthy snacks may be harmful at night, especially for older adults. During the day, certain foods can support healthy circulation, but at night, they may disrupt your body's balance, especially if you're older or have fragile blood vessels or unstable blood pressure. For example, when your blood vessels relax too much during rest, it can lead to a drop in blood pressure followed by a rebound in heart rate or pressure. This fluctuation puts stress on your cardiovascular system, disrupts sleep, and may even increase the risk of stroke. A study in the American Journal of Physiology found that elevated nitric oxide activity at night in older adults can interfere with blood pressure regulation and reduce cerebral blood flow. Take pistachios, for instance. While nutritious, most people eat them salted and roasted, boosting sodium intake significantly. One serving can contain over 120 milligrams of sodium, and it's easy to overeat. At bedtime, the combination of arginine-induced blood vessel changes and high sodium can throw your system out of balance, forcing your heart to work harder when it should be resting. The good news: you don't need to give up pistachios altogether. Just choose unsalted versions and enjoy them earlier in the day, preferably mid-morning or afternoon, when your body is better equipped to handle their effects. Now let's talk about walnuts, often praised as brain food. They're rich in omega-3s, antioxidants, and nutrients that support heart and brain health. But consuming them at night, especially for older adults, can pose challenges. Walnuts are high in polyunsaturated fats, particularly alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, a plant-based omega-3. During the day, ALA supports inflammation reduction and cardiovascular health. However, at night, the metabolism slows down. Fats linger longer in the bloodstream, especially in older adults with slower lipid metabolism. A study in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that eating high-fat foods late at night, even healthy fats, can raise nighttime triglyceride levels. This disrupts blood flow and contributes to long-term arterial stiffness. Additionally, fatty foods like walnuts may trigger acid reflux or indigestion, reducing sleep quality and spiking cortisol, a stress hormone that can impact blood pressure and heart rhythm. And again, the store-bought versions are often salted or sweetened, adding even more stress to your system. A salted or honey-roasted handful may seem harmless, but it delivers a mix of salt, sugar, and slow-digesting fat your body doesn't need before bed. The takeaway: walnuts are heart-healthy, but best consumed earlier in the day, like with breakfast or lunch, when your body can process their nutrients efficiently. Even healthy movement can carry hidden risks. Now that we've covered snacks, let's shift to something else that might surprise you: exercise. If you're over 60, some common workouts could increase your risk of stroke or injury. It's not about avoiding movement, but understanding how aging changes how our bodies respond. As we age, blood pressure shifts more quickly, balance declines, and certain movements strain the heart and brain more than we realize. For example, bending over too quickly, like picking something up or tying a shoe, can cause blood to rush to your head. Older adults may not compensate fast enough, leading to sudden blood pressure drops, orthostatic hypotension, dizziness, or falls. A study in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society confirmed that older adults are more prone to blood pressure drops with rapid positional changes. One man got dizzy and fell just by bending over in his garage, ending up with concussion. Solution: always bend slowly. Plant your feet, bend your knees, and use support if needed. Another overlooked danger: neck twists. Quick or forceful neck movements can compress or even injure the vertebral arteries, which supply blood to the brain's balance centers. There are real cases, such as a man who suffered a stroke after a neck stretch, not from trauma, but just from a sudden twist. A woman I met used to do neck rolls every morning. She later experienced dizziness and blurred vision, which stopped once she switched to gentle, controlled neck movements. Better approach: move your head slowly. Avoid jerking motions. Warm compresses or gentle stretches are safer, and if needed, consult a physical therapist. Let's not forget weightlifting. While lifting weights can help maintain strength and independence, doing it incorrectly can be risky. One major issue is holding your breath during a lift, a common reflex known as a Valsalva maneuver. This dramatically increases pressure in your chest and brain, spiking blood pressure and stressing arteries. For older adults, especially those with hypertension or weakened blood vessels, this pressure spike can lead to a stroke or vascular injury. Final thoughts: some of our go-to nighttime habits, like a handful of nuts or a simple stretch, might not be as harmless as they seem, especially with age. But this isn't about giving up what you love. It's about timing and listening to your body when it needs rest and recovery the most. By choosing unsalted nuts, shifting snacks to earlier in the day, and modify how you move, you support your heart, brain, and sleep more effectively. The body responds well to even small changes: better energy, more stable blood pressure, and a lower risk of nighttime health issues. And if you're active, keep it up, but move smart. Your health isn't just about what you do. It's about how and when you do it. A study conducted by the American Heart Association revealed that sudden spikes in blood pressure during intense weightlifting are connected to a heightened risk of brain bleeds, especially among older adults who frequent the gym. I recall hearing about a retired firefighter who kept himself active by working out at his neighborhood fitness center. One day, he pushed himself with a heavier weight than usual. During the lift, he felt a rush in his head, became dizzy, and nearly lost consciousness. Later, his physician explained that he had dangerously elevated his blood pressure by holding his breath under physical strain. Here's what you should keep in mind: choose weights that are tough but still controllable. Maintain a steady breathing rhythm. Breathe out as you lift, and breathe in as you lower the weight. If you're uncertain about your form or limits, always seek guidance from a trainer who understands the unique responses of aging bodies. Now, if you've experimented with inverted yoga poses in hopes of improving circulation, you might find the next part especially eye-opening. Moves like the headstand or shoulder stand may appear serene and elegant, but they pose real dangers, particularly for older individuals. These poses flip the body upside down, causing a surge of blood to flow toward the head. While some claim this enhances circulation, the reality is that it can dangerously elevate pressure inside the skull. When you're in a head-down position, blood flow to the brain increases dramatically. For those over 60, when high blood pressure and weakened blood vessels become more common, this extra strain can overwhelm the body's systems. And this isn't just theoretical. Neurologists have recorded instances in which older adults experience vision issues, intense headaches, or even mini strokes after trying inverted yoga without proper supervision. There's a woman I recall from a yoga class who regularly practiced shoulder stands each morning. But after several weeks, she began experiencing severe headaches and eye pressure. Her doctor cautioned her the increased cranial pressure from these poses was a serious risk. She switched to gentler routines, and her symptoms completely disappeared. Instead of inverting your entire body, try the legs up the wall pose. It's a soothing alternative that helps circulation without the health risks. Also, always inform your instructor about any health issues before beginning a new workout. They can tailor exercises to suit your body and avoid unnecessary strain. Now that we explored the dangers of going upside down, let's shift gears, literally. Because when you exercise is just as important as how evening workouts can be peaceful. The gym is quieter, the temperature is cooler, and they can help relieve stress after a long day. However, for older adults, intense activity late at night, like fast-paced running or high-intensity training, can have unintended consequences. Here's why. Vigorous exercise activates the sympathetic nervous system, which essentially revs up the body. While this activation is useful during the day, doing it close to bedtime keeps your heart rate elevated, blood pressure raised, and your body in a heightened state just when it's supposed to be winding down. For people over 60, this late-night stimulation can lead to increased nighttime blood pressure, which is a known contributor to strokes during sleep. Research published in a hypertension study found that late-evening, high-intensity workouts can significantly raise overnight blood pressure levels, even in otherwise healthy people. That's why many healthcare providers now suggest older adults aim for morning or early afternoon workouts. I once spoke with a retired school teacher who used to jog after dinner each night. Over time, she noticed she had trouble sleeping, and on one occasion, she woke up with a racing heartbeat and dizziness. Her cardiologist advised her to switch her exercise earlier in the day, and the difference was dramatic. If you enjoy moving in the evening, choose lighter activities like slow-paced walks, gentle stretching, or relaxing yoga flows. Save cardio for earlier hours when your body is better prepared for it. Next, let's turn our attention to something small but essential, your core. And no, we're not chasing six-pack abs here. Think of exercises like sit-ups and crunches, staples in fitness routines for years. These may appear to be simple ways to work the abdominal muscles, but for older individuals, performing them too rapidly or too frequently can do more harm than good. When you engage in quick abdominal movements, especially while holding your breath, it causes a sharp increase in pressure within the chest and abdomen. This can disrupt normal blood flow, particularly to the brain. It's similar to squeezing a garden hose. The flow gets restricted, and that sudden pressure change can impact circulation more than you'd expect. According to the American Journal of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation, rapid core workouts in older adults can lead to reduced blood flow to the brain, especially when done with little rest between sets. That drop in oxygen supply may leave you feeling lightheaded, confused, or even cause you to faint. A man I met at a community fitness class shared that he often felt faint after doing sit-ups in the morning. His doctor later explained that the quick, forceful movements were interfering with blood flow to his head. Once he switched to slower, more controlled core exercises, the dizziness vanished. So, what's a smarter choice? Try gentle core moves like pelvic tilts or seated leg marches. Keep your breathing steady. Exhale with effort. Inhale as you relax, and take your time with each repetition. Rushing only raises a risk. Now that we've stabilized the core, let's step onto the treadmill. With a word of warning, though it's a convenient and weatherproof way to stay active, treadmills can become hazardous for seniors when misused. One common and risky mistake is running at high speed without using the side rails for balance. As we age, reflexes slow and coordination can decline. Moving quickly on a treadmill without holding on can dramatically increase the risk of tripping or falling, with potentially serious consequences. Even one small misstep on a treadmill can lead to serious injuries, fractures, head trauma, and in high-risk individuals, even heart strain or stroke. According to the NIH and other health agencies, older adults experience more treadmill accidents than any other age group. A key reason? Not using the handrails. Even a moment of unsteady movement can sharply increase cardiovascular stress, especially in people over 60. I remember a man in his 70s who insisted on running hands-free every morning. One day, a small slip became a major fall. He hit the ground hard and suffered a head injury. His doctor later said that just holding the rails occasionally could have prevented it. So what's the smarter strategy? Keep a steady pace, don't rush. And if you feel even slightly off balance, grab the rails. Prefer something safer but still effective? Walk on an incline. You'll get the cardio benefits with far less risk of falling. Now let's change direction, because sometimes the danger isn't from movement, but from being too still. Take planks, for example. They're celebrated for building strength, posture, and requiring no equipment. But holding a plank too long, especially while holding your breath, can strain your cardiovascular system. That's because your muscles are working hard to stabilize you, increasing pressure in your chest and abdomen. If you're also holding your breath, a common habit, oxygen flow drops and blood pressure rises. It's like your heart is pumping against a closed valve. Research in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research shows that breath holding during isometric exercises like planks can cause significant spikes in systolic blood pressure, even in fit older adults. Over time, or even during a long hold, this can reduce brain blood flow and put added stress on the heart. A neighbor of mine used to time herself during long plank holds, but she began having chest tightness and headaches after workouts. Once she shortened her holds and focused on deep, steady breathing, the symptoms disappeared. If you like planks, great, just modify them. Try 20 to 30-second holds with calm, controlled breathing, and always listen to your body. Now, let's stand back up, literally, because our next movement is something you probably do every day without thinking. Standing up and sitting down. Sounds simple, right? But doing it too quickly, especially in repetition, like during squats, can cause a sudden drop in blood pressure. This is called postural hypotension, and is particularly common in older adults. When you move from sitting to standing, your blood needs to adjust to gravity. In younger people, this happens fast, but as we age, that reaction slows. Your brain may not get enough blood in time, leaving you dizzy or unstable, and increasing your risk of falls. It's not just about leg strength. It's about how your cardiovascular system responds to movement. A study in JAMA found that seniors who frequently moved quickly from seated to standing were more likely to feel dizzy and suffer falls, including fractures and head injuries. A friend of mine added fast squats to his morning routine to stay limber, but soon he was getting dizzy afterward. Once he slowed down and paused between reps, the dizziness stopped. Here's a safer alternative. Rise slowly. Take a breath. Give your body a moment to catch up. Hold on to a stable surface if needed. Prioritize balance. It's not a weakness, it's wisdom. Now that we've uncovered the hidden risks in everyday movements, let's take a moment to reflect. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness. It's about honoring the changes in our bodies and learning how to move with confidence and care. Staying active is one of the best things you can do for your health. But as we age, the goal shifts. It's no longer about pushing harder. It's about moving smarter. Every step, breath, and stretch can be a celebration of life, if done with intention. You don't need to keep up with younger people or push past your limits. Just listen to your body. Respect it. Maybe this reminded you of your own habits or those of someone you care about. That awareness is the first step towards safer, stronger movement. And if one small change helps you stay safe, upright, and thriving, it's worth everything. Let's keep showing up. Let's keep learning and choosing health every day. Now, let's talk about something most seniors never expect, a hidden risk during routine medical tests. Every year, millions of older adults go in for checkups, trusting they're doing the right thing. But what if some of these very tests are putting you at risk for stroke? It sounds hard to believe. You follow your doctor's advice. You want to catch problems early. But buried in the fine print of modern medicine are silent risks, ones no one warns you about. Not the news, not the brochures, and sometimes not even your doctor. Imagine feeling perfectly fine after a checkup, only to suffer dizziness, blurred vision, or worse, days later. What happened? Here's the truth. Certain diagnostic tests, especially when done too often or in people with certain conditions, can quietly spike your blood pressure, disrupt blood flow, and trigger a chain of events that ends in a stroke. This isn't to scare you, it's to empower you. Because after 60, it's not just about finding disease early. It's also about avoiding unnecessary risks. In the next few minutes, we'll reveal 5 common medical tests that can increase stroke risk, and more importantly, we'll show you how to protect yourself before your next appointment. If you're over 60, drop a 1 in the comments. If not, drop a 0 and make sure you subscribe to Elderly Health Tips, where we cover the things no one else will. Let's start with the first test that deserves a second thought. The CT scan with contrast. If you've had one, you probably remember the warm flush when the contrast eye enters your body. It helps doctors see organs and blood vessels clearly, but it can do more than just enhance images. For seniors, especially those with high blood pressure, heart disease, or kidney issues, contrast eye can quietly strain the cardiovascular system. In some, it causes a sudden drop in heart rate and blood pressure, a vasovagal reaction, which can lead to fainting. In others, it causes a dangerous spike in blood pressure, tightening blood vessels, and potentially triggering a stroke. A study in the Journal of Vascular and Interventional Radiology found that older adults undergoing contrast-enhanced CT scans had a significantly higher rate of vascular complications within 72 hours, especially those with underlying health conditions. Real story. An 84-year-old man went in for a routine abdominal CT. The scan was normal. 2 days later, he had a minor stroke. Doctors believe the contrast eye temporarily spiked his blood pressure, causing a clot that blocked blood flow to part his brain. This doesn't mean contrast CTs are bad. They can save lives. But they should be used wisely, not ordered just because. How to protect yourself. Ask your doctor, is the scan essential? Share your full medical history, especially if you've had past reactions, kidney problems, high blood pressure, or heart issues. Ask, is there a non-contrast option? In many cases, an ultrasound or non-contrast CT may offer the information your doctor needs without the added risk. During this test, you're asked to walk or even jog on a treadmill while your heart is carefully monitored. As the speed ramps up, your heart rate climbs, your blood pressure increases, and your cardiovascular system is suddenly placed under significant stress. For a healthy person in their 30s, that might not be a concern, but for older adults, especially those with existing health conditions, it can be like striking a match near dry leaves. The potential for serious complications is real. Some of the possible risks include dangerous spikes in blood pressure, irregular heartbeats, sudden arrhythmias, and in rare yet genuine cases, small tears and fragile blood vessels, particularly in the brain. A 2021 study published in the American Journal of Cardiology analyzed more than 1,300 individuals aged 65 and older who underwent treadmill stress tests. The findings were telling. Nearly 7% experienced adverse effects during the test, such as sudden blood pressure increases and abnormal heart rhythms. The group most affected? Those with pre-existing vascular conditions. And this isn't just theoretical, it happens in real life. One of our subscribers, Mary from Ohio, shared her personal story. At 74, and with a long history of high blood pressure, her doctor recommended a stress test as a precaution. Halfway through the treadmill portion, she began feeling dizzy and experienced chest tightness. The test was halted immediately, but the next day, she suffered a mild stroke. Doctors believe the sudden spike in her blood pressure during the test likely caused a tiny vessel in her brain to rupture. To clarify, the test didn't directly cause a stroke, but it did apply pressure to an already sensitive system, ultimately pushing it past its limits. So what's the main takeaway? Speak with your doctor. Ask, is there a safer way to assess my heart function? In many cases, alternatives like a nuclear stress test, which uses medication to mimic exercise, or a resting echocardiogram, may be safer choices for older adults. And if you're not currently showing symptoms such as chest pain, shortness of breath, or fatigue, ask whether the test is urgently needed or if it can be postponed. Next, let's examine another seemingly routine test that may not be as harmless as appears, especially if you're not cautious: the endoscopy. Now we turn to a procedure that becomes increasingly common after age 60, the endoscopy. Whether to examine the esophagus, stomach, or colon, doctors often suggest it as a precaution. In some situations, this is justified. But here's what isn't commonly discussed. If the procedure isn't truly necessary, and particularly if it involves sedation, it could do more harm than good. To start with, most individuals over 60 take medications, especially blood thinners like warfarin, aspirin, or Plavix. During sedated endoscopies, blood pressure and circulation naturally shift. When you combine those physiological changes with medications that impair clotting, the risk of internal bleeding and impaired brain circulation rises. potentially setting the stage for a silent stroke. A 2021 large-scale review published in Gastrointestinal Endoscopy found that patients over age 65 who underwent sedated endoscopies faced a marked increase in transient ischemic attacks, TIAs, also known as mini-strokes, within the following 72 hours. While these weren't major strokes, they were clear warning signs of disrupted blood flow in the brain. One memorable case involved a 76-year-old woman who underwent a routine, sedated colonoscopy. She had no symptoms going in, but 2 days later began slurring her speech and losing coordination. The ER confirmed she'd suffered a mild stroke. Her physicians believed the combination of sedation-induced blood pressure changes and her daily aspirin use created the perfect conditions for a clot to travel. So, while the endoscopy procedure itself carries low risk, the intersection of age, sedation, and medication can significantly raise the stakes. This doesn't mean you should refuse all endoscopies, but don't agree to one unless your doctor can clearly explain why it's necessary right now. If the reason is simply that it's been a few years since your last test, ask whether there's a safer way to monitor your health, especially if you have no current symptoms. Make sure to inform your doctor about all medications you're taking. Ask questions like, do I need to stop my blood thinner before this procedure? What are the sedation risks for someone in my health condition? Can this be done without sedation or with a lighter alternative? Now, let's move on to a test that's rarely questioned but can pose hidden risks, especially to your kidneys. The MRI with contrast. MRIs are remarkable diagnostic tools. They allow doctors to view deep inside the body, catch early warning signs, and potentially avoid surgery. But when a contrast dye is used, often provide clearer images. It's time to be cautious, particularly for older adults or those with undiagnosed kidney issues. The contrast dye used in MRIs often contains gadolinium, a heavy metal that's intended to be flushed out through your kidneys. However, after age 60, kidney function naturally declines. And if you already have chronic kidney disease or reduced function, even without knowing it, your body might not eliminate gadolinium efficiently. Small amounts can remain in the system. That retention poses a serious concern. Gadolinium buildup has been linked to a rare but debilitating condition called nephrogenic systemic fibrosis, NSF, which causes skin and connective tissue to harden. In severe cases, this condition can affect mobility, breathing, and organ function. Even more troubling, retained gadolinium has also been discovered in brain tissue. Some researchers suspect it may contribute to subtle neurological symptoms, such as confusion, dizziness, and disorientation, especially in individuals with circulatory vulnerabilities. A 2019 study published in Radiology monitored over 2,000 patients aged 65 plus who received contrast MRIs. Within a week, approximately 5% reported stroke-like symptoms, headaches, balance issues, and blurred vision. Most of these individuals had underlying or undiagnosed kidney conditions. One compelling case involved Henry, a 79-year-old veteran from Arizona. After experiencing chronic back pain, his doctor ordered an MRI with contrast. Harold had no idea he had reduced kidney function. 2 days after the scan, he felt lightheaded, weak, and mentally foggy, symptoms that persisted for almost a week. Lab tests later revealed he had stage 3 kidney disease. "No one warned me," he said. "Had I known, I would have asked more questions." So, how can you stay safe? If your doctor recommends a contrast MRI, ask, is the contrast absolutely necessary? In many cases, a non-contrast MRI may be sufficient. If contrast is required, request a simple blood test called a GFR, glomerular filtration rate, to assess kidney function. Also, let your provider know if you've had unusual reactions to imaging tests before. Remember, the MRI itself isn't the issue. It's the contrast dye that may stress your kidneys or brain. With the right precautions, you can still get the insights you need safely. Next, let's spotlight a test that seems completely harmless, routine, even smart, but maybe steering older adults towards surgeries they don't actually need. The carotid artery ultrasound. This test is quick, non-invasive, and doesn't involve dyes or loud machines. It seems ideal. But here's what many people over 60 don't realize. If you're symptom-free and your doctor is just checking as a precaution, this test might send you down an unnecessary surgical path. The carotid arteries supply blood to the brain. Like other vessels, they can develop plaque buildup over time. That's not unusual. Aging alone can cause some narrowing, but not all plaque requires removal. Often, simply monitoring it is the safest choice. Here's how it can spiral. Let's say the scan shows 50% or 60% narrowing. That sounds alarming, so your doctor refers you to a vascular surgeon. Suddenly, you're being told to consider a procedure like a carotid endarterectomy or a stent placement. But if you haven't had symptoms, no dizziness, vision problems, or weakness, those procedures may offer minimal benefit and carry real risk. In fact, a major New England Journal of Medicine study tracking over 3,000 seniors with moderate narrowing, but no symptoms found that surgery didn't significantly lower stroke risk compared to medication and lifestyle changes alone. More concerning, a small percentage who underwent surgery actually experienced strokes during or after the procedure. Martha, 83, from Pennsylvania, shared her experience. She felt completely fine, went for a checkup, and had a carotid ultrasound as a precaution. It showed 65% narrowing. She was sent for surgery, but during the procedure, she suffered a stroke. Though she survived, she now has partial weakness on one side. "I wish I'd known that doing nothing might have been safer," she said. So what should you do if your doctor recommends a scan and you have no symptoms? Ask, what are we looking for? If something is found, how will it affect my treatment? If you're already on blood pressure or cholesterol meds and living a healthy lifestyle, the test may not change much. And if a scan has already shown some narrowing, don't panic. You can often opt for repeat scans over time instead of jumping to surgery. Always get a second opinion before agreeing to any vascular procedure. Let's wrap things up with a reminder that your health is in your hands. Not every test is dangerous, but not every test is necessary either, especially after age 60. Our bodies change, and things that seem routine, like scans, dyes, or sedation, can cause unexpected ripple effects. A single injection might elevate blood pressure. A scan might trigger a reaction. A test done, just in case, can strain an already vulnerable system. That's why it's vital to slow down and ask questions. Make sure every test is based on your personal health needs, not just protocol or habit. You have every right to ask, is this really needed? Are there safer alternatives? Informed choices lead to better health and peace of mind. Your story matters. Your voice matters. And here, we believe every medical decision should be guided by knowledge, not fear, not routine. If you ever felt strange after a scan or seen a loved one experience unexpected complications, drop a 1 in the comments. If not, drop a 0. Let's connect, learn, and support each other. And if this video made you feel more aware, more empowered, or simply more curious, subscribe to Elderly Health Tips. We're here to uncover the truth, ask the hard questions, and always prioritize your well-being.